Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So we're working on our geckos, and specifically we're changing the color of them. So right now he's red. What we ended up doing was making a grayscale gecko so that we can tint it whatever color we may need. Red for flashing damage, blue for being splashed, purple for being corrupted, orange for being cleansed. So we've got collision detection working for this. We just need to now control the gecko's color based on what state it's in. So we'll have to pull in some color rendering to tint the grayscale gecko into whatever we need in the moment. Another issue is, like, let's say we were to, if we were to use our fire spell here and cleanse the geckos, the particle system is still staying there. So it used to fade out on a flee state. Let's take a look at how that used to work. So we should have a gecko flee state, and we were, so it looks like we weren't setting the color here. We have to find where we're doing this spellcast to gecko collision. Because there's a line here where we're tinting it particles. So like right here, see this particle system, if we're corrupted and if we're splashed, we set the particle system to be splashed. Otherwise, so this is the line that's doing it. So if we were to take this line out, I'm pretty sure this will make it so that the particle system will deteriorate over time. So see how it's white now. And then, oh, maybe not. Okay, I thought that would fix it. So it looks like I don't think we're necessarily setting it white before we render. So the issue might be when, sorry, my allergies are killing me today. I think the issue might be when, you know what, I really thought it was here, but this is also only set if the gecko's corrupted. So right here we update the particle system. There's got to be another point in time where we're setting it. Let's take a look at when we render. So it looks like, see, look at this. We used to set it to white here. Okay, so we do have maybe something like this, because see how we're setting the color of the state machine's current alpha, and that's what's supposed to control the transparency over time. And we're kind of only right now we're doing that on the flee state of the gecko. So if it's a gecko, we're going to go ahead and render the particle system for the gecko at the map offset. But then here we're going to say, well, before we actually, this doesn't make much sense because we're setting the color here before we render the state machine. No, now, but this is where we draw the particle system, is right here. So I would think that we would need to move the particle system down here. So if it's a gecko, then we can go ahead and render the particle system after we set the color. Let's see if that brings back. It should melt away, right? The particles should melt away. There we go. We get them melting away now because we're setting the color based on this alpha before we render the particle system now. Okay. So I think we're in a decent spot to kind of map out all the different possibilities for the color. So we need to do orange as default, blue and flashing. Oh man, okay. Yeah, let's think about it, because before we had an atlas of an orange one and an atlas of a purple one, and depending on the cleanse state, we would have whichever atlas. But now we need to take the same thing, the same gecko grayscale, and render either all purple, all flashing red, flashing blue, or cleansed. I don't know if this should live in the entity class or if it should live in the gecko state, you know, because we're kind of doing it kind of weird where in the entity class here in the render we're asking if we're a type of gecko, right? So if our entity is a gecko, then let's go ahead and handle the grayscale rendering for it. So we might, you know, we have pulled out these colors prematurely to set. But we need a sort of kind of state machine to handle the flashing, because when we're splashed, it should go from tinting orange to tinting blue to orange to blue to orange. And then if we're healed from the splash, go default to orange. Okay, so we basically just need to toggle these things based on whatever we need. So if I comment out this should be a splashed gecko color, which should be blue on the gecko here. So now that we've got the blue gecko, it shows that right before we render not only the particle system but also the gecko itself, that it's indeed pulling from this color. Now we do need an orange gecko color. Cleansed gecko color, that's what we need. Cleansed gecko color. Okay, I'm just gonna see what this looks like. Because to me the hardest thing is the flashing, right? Because there's yeah, he looked too brown. He should match the road. This orange of the road, he should kind of match perfectly, but we missed the color there. I guess we can pull, yeah, we should be able to pull. Oh, it's hard because he's not perfectly white. Actually, his highlight might be perfectly white. If that's the case, let's check it out in Sprite. Let's do this. If we pull open, we want to check two things. We want to check this new corrupted atlas. So we desaturated, but the brightness, I think, is not pure white. Yeah, see, it's 204 out of 255. So I'm kind of tempted to just jack that up to 255. If we jack it up to pure white, then when we tint the exact color of the color scheme we're trying to tint it to, it'll match 1-to-1. Because otherwise, if we try to tint it to the orange RGB values, since it's not pure white, it'll be darker, and then it wouldn't match the color of the map or our we don't have a set color scheme exactly, but it would miss the orange mark on there. So let's pull open. I want to pull open the gecko. The original gecko atlas here, so we can get this value, this color value. Okay, so it's 205, 115, 32. I'm not going to remember that. Here. Okay. So let's try. First of all, let's just try to tint this orange to this exact orange, and then we'll see if the colors match up, because I'm pretty sure they won't. And that's why we want to change the atlas to a pure white. It'll change the contrast a bit, but we can adjust that. I'd rather have the true colors. Okay. Okay, we're looking at a 205, 115, 32 for a cleanse gecko color. Let's see. Yeah, see how much darker it is? It's so much darker than that orange that he's walking on. It should match. It should match. So let's actually go back to Sprite, and we're going to turn, if we do a Shift R, we can go from this CCC to pure white. And then I want to brighten up the other one as well. I want to brighten up this. Just trying to find that sweet spot of contrast so that we can just tint it. And I'm still not like dead set on necessarily doing this tint. If it looks too lackluster for both the normal and corrupted gecko just based on the tint alone, we might scrap this idea. But for right now, let's try it. Save that PNG. Now that we brightened that up, I'm hoping that the orange matches the orange here on the tile, on the pathway. It looks perfectly matched because he looks invisible when he's crawling on the path, which is the idea. It's supposed to look kind of camouflaged when he's crawling on the thing, so on the pathway. Okay. I like it. He might be a little too dark. Yeah, he might be a little too dark. I think I might want to undo that dark change here. Let's try that. No, I liked it better how we had it. Maybe a little brighter. Let's leave it for now. I really don't think it's that big of an issue. Okay, so as long as let's test what the other colors look like, because this is just one tint function, you know, so this is how he looks like if he's normal. Let's try. Let's see what corrupt gecko color looks like. Should be purple. Oh, so purple. Way too purple. Yeah, actually, the bright purple is kind of, you know what? Maybe we do a brighter purple like this. Just makes it a little easier to see. Well, yeah, it looks a little too bright. Looks like a little radioactive. And then we'll make sure the particle system matches. Corrupt gecko color. Okay. He is super purple. Okay, let's get a proper value here for the purple. Maybe something like that. So 163. $42.26. Okay, it is a little bright. Yeah, he is a little bright. He looks like a little radioactive. I mean, it's maybe we keep it and see if it grows on us, because he is a little easier to see. And also, I don't want it to be necessarily muddy. I want it to be kind of clear. So let's see how the blue looks like. That's probably good for blue when he's slowed down. Yeah, we just imagine him flashing, you know? Okay, red needs to be darker. Well, actually, if it's flashing, it might look okay. Yeah, this, you know, I kind of like the way it pops when it's really bright like that. I'm trying to get the particle system consistent, right? So guess it depends on when we set the color for the particle system. Don't we do it? No, do we do it? There is a time where we do the corrupted particles tinting. Set a corrupted particle right here on the P system set colors. P system set colors. Yes. Okay, so it's not set color, it's P system set color. P systems set color gecko corrupted particle. Okay, so we're doing this in the entity class, both in the update and in the init, it looks like. Okay, so this is when we become splashed. If the aqueous collides, we're going to become splashed. Okay. So this, we probably can get rid of this tinting right here and instead rely on this init. Let me think that, let's test that. So gecko corrupted particle. Okay. Let me just see. It should be unchanged at a purple. Yeah, it's like a dark purple. Okay. Okay, we still have the fading, which is good. So this gecko corrupted particle could be way brighter. Oh my gosh, it's 2 values. Okay. Okay. Well, let's remake this 67, 25, 36. Yeah, it's super dark. So let's, if we wanted to brighten it up and keep it purple, let's maybe try that. 109, 79, 226. Should be much brighter. It's still red. It's still tinted red. But it should be a particle systems. Yeah, it's a P system set colors. But then maybe once we do see, like we had it right here. We're setting it upon becoming splashed. Let's see if anything happens to the particle system on a splash. Okay, it looks like it went black right after that. Okay, so right here, okay, this is where it is. In the gecko particle system, is this in the update? Yeah, this is in the update. Okay, this is a little weird. So we initialize it. We initialize it with a corrupted particle color. But then here in the update, we're saying, well, if we're splashed, we set it to the blue, which isn't quite working. And then otherwise, we set it to the normal purple. So let me just get rid of these real quick and just see if we still have a purple. I'm just looking to make sure the purple's looking right. See, it's still red. So if this is the gecko particle system, we should have a part where we at least do the P system set colors. And we do it here. We set it to a corrupted particle from the get-go, from the init. Right? Oh, no. That's not in the init. That's in the reset original position. Okay. Okay. So then in the entity update, that's the line we've got. If we're colliding, do we set it to purple? Okay. So I guess we should put it in the init then, right? I mean, at least for, well, I don't know. It's hard to say with the entity class, but right here, we should have basically this in the init, not in the reset original position. So we don't really have a gecko specific init. We do have stuff for the bat. I'm going to add that in our gecko. We can get rid of the gecko C, but let's just do this in the init. Say if we're a type of gecko, then let's just set our particle system to this brighter purple particle. Then we'll see if it's still rendering red, which it's rendering red or pink. Let me turn off where we're doing this damage color. Let's get rid of this real quick. Let me just see what color comes out. Green. Green. I would have never guessed. We tried to make it purple. So for some reason the corrupted gecko particle is getting set to green right here. And let's see, because we render the particle system here. We set it based on the white alpha if we're in flea state. Okay, well, this doesn't really... Let me just see if this does this change everything white? No, our particle system's still green. What the heck? Our particle system set colors. Okay, we might need this if we're not splashed. Let's go set to that corrupted particle. Should be purple, not green. What the flip, dude? Why? Gecko corrupted particle. I mean, it must be right. It looks so gecko corrupted particle. 279? Oh, just 79, not 279. Okay, that ain't the purple we're expecting either, though. What the heck, dude? Gecko particle. That should be the one. It's corrupted and it's not splashed. Let's see again. 109.79. 226 on the blue. Dude, how do we screw 226? How do we screw that up? Okay, we're looking for purple. There we go. Purple. There we go. Okay. I kind of like this kind of brand of purple. I'm curious to see it with the gecko. So the question I have is are these things separated, right? We want to be able to render a particle system one color while rendering the gecko the other, because we don't want the particles changing color. We just want the gecko to be flashing or not, depending on its state. So let's see if we can kind of decouple the particle system from the gecko render. And I'm not sure where that would be. Because in the entity, we have a, damaged gecko. Let's just see, can we render a splashed gecko, which is blue, while rendering purple particles? So he's, yeah, see the gecko is blue and then the particles become blue. Okay, so because we... We'll see, and it's like, it's weird because right before we do a graphics.draw, the only way we modify the color was a set colors, P system set colors. So we might have to move that P system set colors to be right here, right before we render the P system, so that we could render the state as normal for the normal gecko color. So we will probably have to move our P system outside of this to get that decoupling of the renders. Let's see, because we're rendering a splashed gecko. See, and I'm curious what happens if we leave this on. Does it, since it's not a P system colon set colors, does that mean we can't set color? Or does that just mean it won't do... Actually, that looks... Well, that gave us our proper purple, but it didn't give us our gecko that was splashed. There's our gecko that's splashed. What the Okay, because it sets it to white, then it renders there. Okay, so this set color did actually fix our issue, but let me just see. Let me see if the purple fades over time. It doesn't look like it's fading, is it? Yeah, it's not fading. It really isn't fading. So that means it's running the set color, not the set colors. Let's do this. Set colors, corrupted particle. And let's do this here. Before we render the particle system, we do the state machine, or that. And then in here, if we're a gecko, let's go ahead and render the state machine right here for the gecko. Oh crap. We need it for the other entities though, so we can't quite do that. But if we had two of these things, like this one is the set color, right? We set the color for the gecko here, then we render the gecko in the state machine. Then we could do the same thing where we do a particle system render right here. So we decouple it that way. We render the entity itself after we've set the potential entity color. Then we render the particle system with the appropriate particle system color. That should change over time. Okay, well now the particle system's rendering on top of the gecko, and we don't have separation of the colors. We might have to, gosh, what is it, dude? Because it's still coming out, it's coming out tinted. Okay, there's our purple back, and it does fade to transparent over time, it looks like. We just need to change the render order layer. So I think when we're doing right here, this, it should fade to transparent. Let me see if I can really see that. No, I don't really see it fading. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, it should fade better than that. I guess the best test is when we kill him here, cleanse him. Yeah, okay, and our fade to clear is also back to broken again. Well, that was because we set it right here. We set the color to the alpha. So before we render the particle system, we can set the color to the alpha right here. And then we want our particle system before our entity so that the render order layer has the entity on top of the particles. And we don't have a state machine current alpha. Unless what? It didn't have a current alpha assigned. We just crashed. I don't know where we're even setting this alpha, dude. I don't see it. Oh, right here, gecko flee state. Okay. But then the gecko walk state don't have one. Does it? Let's see. There's an alpha here in the gecko flee state. Gecko walk state. Alpha is nowhere to be seen, which is why we're crashing. Let's see. Shoot, man. Yeah, we can't do it because not all of our entities even have this alpha field. Like our player don't have it. So here we can't really put it. Uh-oh, what is that? Yeah, we only want to do it if it's a type gecko, which I thought we had. Fine. Okay, that get back our transparency, but the color is still changing upon the cleansing. We shouldn't have the blue particles here. So where are the blue particles coming from? Well, we set a splashed gecko, which is the blue. Then we render this. Then we're only rendering the particle system after we set it to the purple. So how is the blue peeking through still? I don't know. Maybe we can say this. Let's just try this and say, I'm just gonna put it here and just see. Okay, we have purple. Well, that looks right. Okay, that worked except for the disappearing. We can try that. Shit. Dude, why does that crash it? It crashes if the state name, current name is flee. We take it to the current alpha. No, that should be right. Yeah, we shouldn't need this. Because only if it's flee does it go pull that alpha. Okay, we've got blue gecko, purple particles. Okay, we're still seeing our purple, which means we're setting our purple in our particle system. Okay, so this is a little bit of a complicated thing with... Did our stream avatars crash? I don't think so. This is a little tricky because the set colors and the set color don't do what I initially thought they did. So I'm misunderstanding some of the tinting here. But we're really close. We just need to make sure that it's like we need this particle system after we set the alpha. Yeah, how do we... Because we need to render the particle system separate of this, separate of the color set for the gecko. So we have where we're saying if we're fleeing, we're going to set color to this current alpha. Then let's go ahead and render our state machine, but that doesn't include our particle system. Now we could put our particle system in the state machine so that it just goes ahead and renders that. That probably makes the most sense. But then again, yeah, I think we just need to move some of this code. Let's see here. So yeah, we want to render, we want to set the color. See, I don't think we should use set colors here. Let me see if I turn off the set colors for our particle system, do we still have it purple? Okay, yeah. Okay, so there is a difference between set color and set colors. Like set color takes precedence over set colors, which is so weird because it's like set colors gives it two values. It changes from one value to the other. But then set color determines how these colors are rendered, which is very weird. But if we wanted to do this, I want to say we should be able to just do this before we render the entity so that it gets under, and then we want them to fade. So that's the only issue, is they're not fading, is because we're setting it to the color. We're not setting it to... Okay. Now the other thing is, yeah, it's like, because we need to change, you know, if we're splashed, let's fix our stream avatars. If we're splashed, Did stream avatars just completely crash? Yeah, it did. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the purple particles here, they're being set with a white, not current alpha of our state machine, so it's like if we're in flee state, we're going to overwrite with the alpha, which should fade it to transparent. Nice, okay. That's nice. Okay, so now, and if you see, it like when he went cleansed, the particle system didn't change color. Nice. That looks good. Okay, I think it looks great. Let's just check out that the purple corruption looks good against the purple particles. Yeah, you know, I might want to tweak it a bit. It just looks so different than what I'm used to, but I'm kind of liking the brighter purple for the gecko at least. So maybe the corrupted particles can be darker. But we've got full control over that now that we're doing the set color, so it should be a lot easier to see and change those things. So yeah, I think the gecko should be a bit darker and the particle systems a bit darker. Okay, and then we have the set color based on, or we need to add that the set color is based on the state of whatever. So like right now that gecko's splashed because he's moving so slow, but he should be flashing blue, and the particle system should remain unchanged when he's in flashing state, whether it be a damage flash, like as soon as they get hit initially, should be damage flashing, then blue flashing to indicate their nerfed status. So that'll be next, but at least the particle system and the geckos are being rendered individually, and we have pretty good control over these things because we changed the geckos to be pure white, so we can tint it whatever color we want really accurately. So that's good. I think we will take a look at our get diff here, and let's take a look at what we've done today. We add a man, there's some weird changes, right? We updated some colors. That's fine. This is just testing. So it looks like we moved our particle system out of this conditional check, and we basically made another conditional check before it so that we can set the alpha for our particle system before we render it, and that it doesn't interfere with the entity render. And then we commented out, see, is this, we got to look at this line 313 in our entity. So we commented out this splash particle, which, oh, we need to turn back on the, oh, no, that's an old one. Okay, so if we're splashed, we were setting a color to a splash particle, which we just kind of undid that. I I don't want the particles to change. I just want the gecko to change. So now that that's taken out, let's just take it out. Okay. Okay, so we are setting the corrupted particle in the entity init, and then we took out the tint here upon the splash. See, no, this is another one. This is another one in the entity update, line 288, 228. 228 here in the entity. Okay, so when we become splashed, we were setting the color of the particle system, which we are no longer doing, so we don't need that line anymore. Okay, so what we did today was add our tinting of our corrupted particle on the init. So we put our corrupted particle in the init, and then we separated out the particle system render from the entity render so that we could tint the particle system, draw that first, and then draw the entity over it. And then we dialed in some colors. So that's what we'll commit. And we'll say that we now have, I'd say separate entity render from particle render, and adjust gecko colors. Cool. All right, we'll push it. We'll call it a night. I gotta get to bed soon. But thanks for hanging, y'all. I'll be back tomorrow with some more programming. Hopefully we'll try to get that color triggering with the different states. And then we can actually add collision with other entities like bats and stuff and figure out all of that good stuff. So we'll raid out and call it a night. Thanks for hanging, and I will catch y'all later.